All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a name that was supposed to be erased from history forever, but somehow it's haunted us for over 2,000 years. This is the story of a man named Herostratus.
So let me ask you something, and really think about it for a second. What would you do to be remembered forever? What lengths would you go to just to make sure your name echoes through the ages? Is any price too high for that kind of immortality?
Well, for one guy, the answer was chillingly simple and horrifying. He decided the only way to guarantee his place in history was through an act of, well, supreme destruction.
And that's where we get to the core of this whole thing, the mystery of the man with a forbidden name.
So, this is Herostratus. And honestly, we don't know a whole lot about him. By all accounts, he was a nobody, someone from a low social standing. But here's the crazy irony, right? The authorities back then went to extreme lengths to literally wipe him from existence. And yet here we are, thousands of years later, saying his name.
They had a specific punishment for this. It was called damnatio memoriae, which literally means condemnation of memory. The city of Ephesus passed a law making it a crime, punishable by death, to even say his name. Think about that. They didn't just want to kill him. They wanted to kill his memory, to completely destroy the very fame he was so desperate for.
So what could a person possibly do to deserve that? Well, he went after one of the most magnificent structures ever built.
This was the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. And to give you a sense of just how massive this thing was, it was twice the size of the Parthenon in Athens. Built almost completely out of marble, it took 120 years to finish. This wasn't just a building, it was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. A true masterpiece.
You know, the Roman historian Pliny the Elder, he called it the most wonderful monument of Grecian magnificence. So for the people back then, this wasn't just some big temple. It was sacred. It was an icon, the house of a goddess, a symbol of everything humanity could achieve.
And then he burned it down. In 356 BCE, Herostratus set its huge wooden roof on fire. The whole thing was just consumed by flames. And here's a weird historical footnote for you. It all happened on the very same night that Alexander the Great was supposedly born. Crazy, right?
So when they caught him, they tortured him. And under torture, he confessed everything. But his motive? It wasn't political. It wasn't religious. He did it for one simple reason: to make sure his name would be known forever. That's it. That was the whole plan.
And that brings us to the biggest irony in this whole story. That law, the one designed to make everyone forget him? Yeah, it failed. Spectacularly.
It failed almost right away. A historian at the time, Theopompus, he just went ahead and wrote the name down anyway. Then, a few centuries later, the geographer Strabo documented the story. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, and even Chaucer is alluding to him. And then in the 20th century, you've got the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre writing a story about him. It's almost like the attempt to erase his name is the very thing that made sure we'd never forget it.
There's this quote from an English playwright, Colley Cibber, way back in 1699, that just nails the irony. He wrote, "The aspiring youth that fired the Ephesian dome outlives in fame the pious fool that raised it." Think about that. The guy who destroyed the temple is now way more famous than the people who actually built it. His infamy totally outlasted their glory.
Okay, but this isn't just some dusty old story from ancient Greece. No, it's a pattern. It's a dark part of human nature that we still see all the time. In fact, it even has a name: the Herostratus syndrome. His actions just keep echoing through history. Look, over 2,000 years later, you have this guy Luigi Lucchini. He assassinates the Empress of Austria. And when he sees his own photo in the papers, what does he say? "I shall be celebrated." It's the exact same bone-chilling desire for fame at any cost.
Yeah, his name has literally become a word in the dictionary. Herostratic Fame. That's what we call it when someone seeks fame at any cost, usually through some awful, destructive act. It's this twisted pursuit of celebrity by any means necessary.
And today, psychologists have broken down this Herostratus syndrome. It usually starts with just this all-consuming hunger for fame. The playbook is pretty clear. Cause public panic by going after a famous person or a well-known place. It's often driven by this deep jealousy of successful people and a willingness to do the unthinkable, to destroy something sacred even if it destroys you in the process. It's a really dark path to trying to matter.
And the parallels to our own world, man, they're pretty chilling.
Herostratus burned down a cultural icon to get his name in the books. The terrorists on 9/11 took down the World Trade Center, an icon of American power, to get global attention. Herostratus wanted fame at any cost. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, promised to stop killing people only if the biggest newspapers in the country published his manifesto. The playbook? It's disturbingly the same.
So where does that leave us? What do we make of all this? I mean, did Herostratus win? It kind of brings us to the really strange, absurd nature of his whole legacy.
You know, in a way, he absolutely succeeded. I mean, beyond his wildest dreams. We remember his name, right? Can you name the architect of the temple? Probably not. But his name is now forever tied to pointless destruction, all for ego. So you have to ask, what is a legacy like that really worth?
A philosopher named Jeffrey Scar framed the paradox perfectly. He said, look, Herostratus' life felt meaningless, so he did a meaningless act to become famous. But if your whole plan to escape a meaningless existence is itself completely absurd, have you gained anything at all? It's a heavy question to think about, all from a story that's thousands of years old.